Welcome to Civics at the Crossroads, AARP Indiana's discussion on the 2020 U.S. general election. Hi, I'm Tish Biggs, and I am an AARP Indiana volunteer. For those of you who aren't familiar with AARP Indiana, we are the nationwide nonpartisan organization's local affiliate. We advocate on behalf of Hoosiers 50 or older and their communities, helping with everything from food security to voter education. You can learn more about our efforts by visiting us at aarp.org/IN, as well as by following us on Facebook and Twitter. Voter education and civil discourse are what Civics at the Crossroads is all about. AARP Indiana has set out to have a candid conversation with elected officials and cover everything you need to know about voting and voting safely. We have a very special guest today, State Senator Jim Merritt, a Republican. He is joining us to discuss civil discourse in the run-up to the general election on November 3rd. Senator Merritt is a seasoned political leader representing constituents in central Indiana. Thanks so much for joining us, and a warm welcome to you, Senator Merritt.
Thanks, Ms. Biggs. Appreciate the opportunity today.
I think it's safe to say that between the pandemic, a continued dialogue on social justice, and the highest federal office on the ballot, this might be one of the most intense elections that many Americans are able to recall. Could you tell me a little bit about your experience on the campaign trail in the past?
Well, number one, I appreciate and grateful for the opportunity to speak to you today, and we also need to add the Supreme Court justice issue. And so there are a bailiwick of issues that are confronting us today in the political world, as well as the real world out there in the United States of America. And it's the tone of politics has really changed in the last 20 years. I've been in the Senate for 30 years now, and it's just a dramatic difference in the way we go about issues. And I think social media contributes mightily to it, and the focus on the issues is just so much sharper. And the campaign trail, when I would go door to door when I was on the ballot, either for mayor of Indianapolis or state senator, uh, it really either there are times you would get a door slammed in your face, or other times they'd welcome you in, and it really it's just a different breed of cat out there.
Yep. So, Senator Merritt, how do you hope that Hoosiers will carry themselves and treat each other during this election season?
Well, I was just told that the pre-election balloting that's going on, the voting that's going on at the city county building, there's blocks and blocks of a line for people to get in to vote, and obviously I've prided myself. It's not obvious, but I believe it's obvious. I've prided myself on being civil and having um, a foundation of kindness. And I would hope that all 6.6 Hoosiers, number one, would vote, but also treat each other with kindness and consideration. And I think that's a big part of uh, why America is special. And so it's important for me, and I think it's important for us all to uh, be nice to our neighbor.
Absolutely. Um, as voters are getting ready to go to the polls, and you said that many of them are already lined up, as they're going to the polls, what recommendations would you give to Indiana voters regarding how you think voters should educate themselves on the issues of each of the candidates?
Well, that's a very good question because it's changed so much.
Mhm.
Back in 1990, when I first ran for this office, the Indianapolis Star was really the centerpiece of all the information, along with talk radio was not a big deal. But when I was growing up in Indianapolis, WIBC was something of a real information source. And there are sources everywhere now. And if you're voting, if you want to look at a congressional election like we have in Indianapolis with Christina Hale and Senator Victoria Spartz, that's they have websites, they have Facebook pages, they tweet. There is just a variety of places for a race such as that. If you're trying to decide who you wish to vote for governor, the Governor Holcomb's record is there to be seen through through the IN.gov website. I'm sure Mr. Rainwater and Dr. Myers have adequate information out there. But there is such a plethora of places for one to go, and I'm certain ARP is a source as well.
Those are great points. Our audience may or may not know that according to the Indiana Citizen, a nonprofit group that focuses on improving voter turnout and civic knowledge, there our turnout here, our voter turnout in Indiana over the 4 of the last 5 elections ranks in the bottom 10 states. What do you think Hoosiers can do within their social circles to get more people to participate in the democratic process?
Well, it's one of those things where sometimes you can get a horse to the source, but you can't get them to drink. I think it's important for every Hoosier and every American to vote, regardless of how they do so. And I am pleased that we do have early voting now. I'm
Mhm.
pleased that we have absentee voting. Uh, I'm told that we have more voting sites in the state of Indiana and Marion County than we did last year. It's disappointing when you see a primary election, as we saw this year, um, with really everything open to Hoosiers to vote, and we just didn't get the output that we should have. Obviously, if people don't want to vote, you can't complain, and you can't support. And so I think it's imperative that everybody uh, try to go vote either before the election or on election day.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, Running parallel with that question, what do you think in the individual can do to inspire better civil discourse?
Well, I think first of all, it would be. I can just tell you from my experience. In the last 30 years, I've had a little system of constituent service, neighbor service, and if I would get an email on a concern, I would send them an email back. It wouldn't be a generic one. It would be one that I'm giving them my opinion. They knew they have contacted me, and I contacted them back. If I get a phone call, I would call them back. If I would get some sort of text, I would text them back. I think it's important that you access your government officials, but I think it's more important that we give um, a response, not just an automatic. I got your information, and I'm taking it into consideration. I think I've tried to be very independent in the way of in having a conversation with each constituent that has contacted me in the past, and I would encourage um, all 6.6 million Hoosiers to contact their government official and in a nice, very nice way, demand a response and an opinion. And that's what makes the world go round. And you know what we're thinking, and we know what they are.
Yeah. It's just so hard to cut through the noise. You have worked in the Indiana Senate for a long time, and I'm sure there have been plenty of instances where you haven't agreed on a particular issue. But when you have people that you disagree with, it seems like the your body always manages to get through issues in a civil manner.
Mhm.
Could you talk a little bit about more about disagreement and what that looks like in the Indiana Senate, and how important it is to stay respectful with colleagues when you disagree with them?
Well, I'm really glad you asked that question because Senator Landon is an individual who is a friend of mine and the leading Democrat in the Senate, and and often we just don't agree. But I think if anybody would see us having a conversation, we're friends, and I think we've lost a little bit of that genuine kindness between a Democrat and Republican, and it seems to have been embittered a little bit, and that's disappointing, and um, and that has to change because there's not a whole lot gets done. In the Senate we have 40 Republicans and 10 Democrats, but it's been very, very clear to me, and we've demonstrated it that we like hearing from the loyal opposition, and we at every turn try to our level best to have them at the table. And it's just very important in the Indiana Senate for everybody to get along and communicate. And we'll disagree, but then we go the extra mile that everybody gets a say. Now, in Indianapolis, to kind of enlarge that a little bit, the city council is 20 Democrat city county councilors and 5 Republicans, and that's a relatively new uh, dynamic. And I would hope in the coming years that Democrats reach out to Republicans, such as we have reached out to Democrats in the Indiana Senate.
Well, thanks so much for that perspective. Are there any other lessons or experiences around political discourse that you'd like to share with our viewers?
Well, I think it's wonderful. And I don't mean to go back the old days, but 1990, 1991, we really relied upon the U.S. mail. And
Mhm.
I would get most of my correspondence via the mail. We get telephone calls. We had a phone center of about 6 people answering phone calls, so we would pretty much get the lion's share of our communication that way. Now it's obviously email, and my cell phone's out in internet space, so I get telephone calls as well, and it's 24/7 business. And sometimes it really saddens you with some conversations with constituents. I can't tell you how sad I was when we had a constituent call about 6 weeks ago from my office, and he'd been denied unemployment and compensation, and was threatening to kill himself.
Oh,
And it turns out that we're trying to get him through that, but it was legitimate. What the government entity said was that he wasn't eligible, and so what I would say to the viewers is that um, I think it's important to stress to your public servants to affect change, but kindly. It's so easy to push that send button. And I can tell you, I've printed off many emails in my time, and I've taken the email to the person's residence, knocked on the door, the individual answers the door, and I said, "May I talk to Miss Biggs?" And they said, they go, "Well, I'm Miss Biggs." And I said, "Well, you sent me a really angry email today, and I want to make sure you're okay, but also let's talk about this rather than communicating in such uh, bitter terms." And I think being kind and generous, as well as being level and balanced, is very important when you contact for me to contact my constituents and for the and vice versa.
Yes, it certainly does demonstrate civil discourse. I want to thank you so much for participating in this discussion. And I really wanted to thank you for the many years of service that you have given to our state. I hope you enjoyed participating too.
Oh, absolutely, and I hope I get to do it again.
And thanks so much to the audience for following along. Visit us at www.aarp.org/capital I, capital N, and find us on Facebook and Twitter for more information about registration deadlines and everything else you need to know so that you can be part of the voting process in the 2020 election. Thanks for joining us.